Well, I'll just begin by welcoming you all back. I hope everybody enjoyed lunch. My name's Ethan Boxer-Mackenber. Thank you, Nancy. That's very nice. Very nice. I'm a proud member of the board of directors here at GrowSmart, and I've been involved in this awards program for the past now 5 years. This is our 5th annual awards presentation. We did this because as we work year by year to try to move the needle here in Maine and bring ourselves towards more sustainable communities, fight the continuing patterns of sprawl, it's sometimes easy to despair. We've had many conversations out in the hall today where we're talking about a lot of the barriers in front of us and all of the frustration we sometimes feel when we feel things continuing the wrong way year by year. So we thought, wouldn't it be great to pause sometimes and acknowledge that despite the challenges we all continue to face, we do every year see a number of really incredibly good examples of incredibly important work happening in the communities. Work that has an opportunity to inspire others, that could be replicable, and work that can give us all inspiration. That there are good things happening across Maine. And so this in our 5th year, is our chance to highlight some of those people and projects and plans that are happening around the state that we think are motivational and exemplary of the good work that's happening in many communities. This year there were quite a number of nominees. And what we've done year to year is formed a small group of judges from across the state who represent sectors like economic development, environment, public policy. And we've brought in judges who are not part of GrowSmart, so it's a very independent review. And this year the judges chose 3. Folks from across the state. We're really excited. There's a really great geographic distribution this year and a lot of really interesting, innovative work. So with that, with COVID in the last several years, we've been doing this in a video format, which has been great. So we're just continuing that along, even though we're mostly all here in the room today. If you wanted to share this with anyone, the video will be up on our website and available on YouTube and so forth after the summit today. And when we conclude the video, it's quite brief. I think it's 7 or 8 minutes. I'm going to invite each of the recipients. I think there are representatives of the award recipient groups here in attendance today. I'll invite each of you up one by one, and we'll just do a quick photo op with the awards themselves, which I have here behind me. So with that, I think we can roll the video. Thank you.
I'm Becca Casey, Board President of GrowSmart Maine. Smart growth is about growing our communities in ways that make them more environmentally sustainable, socially cohesive, and economically vital. Here in Maine, that means supporting bustling downtowns, main streets, and village centers with compact walkable development, job opportunities, and affordable housing. All of this while protecting and preserving our state's rich tapestry of farms, fields, woods, and waters. To celebrate how smart growth is happening here in Maine, each year our Smart Growth Awards highlight some of the best examples from around the state. We evaluate projects on how they exemplify the principles of smart growth, transform communities, and provide a leading example, one that will raise the bar for future smart growth in the state. Our judges, all completely independent of GrowSmart Maine, this year included experts from the natural resources and the economic and community development fields. They are Amanda Rector, Maine State economist; Caitlin Nuzzo, Natural Resources Policy Advisor for the Maine chapter of the Nature Conservancy; Misty Parker, Assistant Director of Economic and Community Development for the City of Lewiston; and Karen Tilburg, President and CEO of the Forest Society of Maine. This year, the judges chose 3 winners. All 3 projects embody the theme of today's summit, communities working together to shape change. So here they are, the 3 winners of the 2022 Maine Smart Growth Awards. The stakeholder group of the Land Bank Authority for championing LD 1694, legislation making it easier to rehabilitate blighted properties in downtowns and providing support to neighborhoods in need of revitalization.
To tackle climate change and reduce burden on municipal budgets, we need housing in places with existing infrastructure, sewer, water, roads, broadband, whether that's in an urban downtown, town center, or at a village crossroads. This award recognizes a diverse group of stakeholders who came together to find a solution to a statewide problem: how to make new opportunities for community development using the blighted and abandoned structures found in many Maine villages, towns, and city centers. This collaboration was facilitated by the availability of video teleconferencing, which allowed stakeholders to participate from across the state. The stakeholders' efforts culminated in LD 1694, legislation that will catalyze new development and housing that the market could not have otherwise supported. And it establishes a development-ready communities program to make dollars readily available for goals that support the economy, affordable housing, the environment, better transportation, and quality of life.
Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness for creating the Center for Wabanaki Healing and Recovery on Penobscot Avenue in Millinocket.
The vision for the Center for Wabanaki Healing and Recovery was to facilitate a full-service, culturally based behavioral health facility centered on healing and wellness, while honoring the past, present, and future of the Wabanaki people. The center represents a strong and meaningful investment in the revitalization of Millinocket's downtown, while celebrating Wabanaki culture and its ties to the Katahdin region. While focused first on creating safe and inviting places for Wabanaki people, the center is inviting to the entire Millinocket community, strengthening community ties while responsibly supporting and integrating with the downtown. To steward respect and responsibility toward the natural environment, Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness also purchased and enhanced a gathering place with educational, cultural, recreational, and food sovereignty features. This site sets aside land for connecting to the earth and to the Penobscot River, a sacred body of water to the Wabanaki people. Acting as a further investment in the community of Millinocket, the site celebrates and preserves this land for recreation, agriculture, and joy in the natural landscape.
The Mowsum Promenade, a 1.7-mile multimodal path around Number 1 Pond in downtown Sanford.
Directed by the City of Sanford, with oversight by Public Works Director Matt Hill, the Mowsum Promenade is the centerpiece of a Complete Streets initiative that won a $25 million federal RAISE grant for the City of Sanford. The project started with the Sanford Trails Committee, simply wanting to link existing bike paths located on opposite sides of the downtown, paths that currently interconnect residential neighborhoods, businesses, public schools, and other local amenities. Streets in the downtown were redesigned to safely carry pedestrians, bicyclists, and motor vehicles in a multimodal environment, and a new park and ride facility was developed to allow more people to access the paths in the downtown. Already, the project has prompted 4 new workforce housing projects, totaling 70 new housing units in the downtown, and links were established to serve 3 more existing downtown housing projects. What's most exciting is that this project proves that an aging Milltown can adapt to become vital in the 21st century. It demonstrates how transformation can be achieved by local people taking stock of their assets and building from a grassroots base. GrowSmart Maine would like to thank all of those talented groups and individuals who submitted nominations for these awards. Your submissions show us that smart growth is gaining momentum in Maine as more and more Mainers come to recognize the social, environmental, and economic value of investing in vibrant town centers while preserving productive farmland, woodlands, and sensitive natural areas. Please visit growsmartmaine.org to learn more.
So we're really honored to have a number of the award recipients or representatives of those groups here with us today. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome them up one by one up to the podium. If we could just get a quick photo, and I'd love to present you with the awards themselves. I'll just go in order of how they're stacked in the box. How's that? So I'd like to start with, and I see a little posse of you over there. Any members of the stakeholder group of the Land Bank Authority, if you'd come up and join us on the podium. And I don't know if Becca or Nancy, you want to come up for this? You ought to, come on. Yeah, and a very effective one. Maybe just right here in front of the monitor. You wanna, I was in the working group 2 and 3, and we were talking about multimodal pathways, and I was having a hard time holding my tongue, not revealing that this was coming. But is Matt Hill here, or anyone else from the city of Sanford, or was it otherwise involved in this project? Matt, you're gonna have the hot seat all by yourself up here in this photo. Bet y'all can guess what this one is. And Lisa and Tom, where did I lose you? I see you want to come up? Great.
Spoiler alert, I had the great pleasure of working with the project. Thank you. It was an honor.
And then because they've done such great work for us for 5 years and with such a beautiful outcome, all the awards are created by Reclaimed Maine, which is a small family company in Wyndham that does beautiful handcrafted woodwork. And if you were ever interested in a similarly beautiful product, Reclaimed Maine and Wyndham, they're great. Take them out of the box and move out of it.
I think it's me again. In case you haven't had enough of me and my face today, because I'm about... I think at this stage, it's time to call to order our annual meeting. So with that, I would like to call to order the annual meeting of GrowSmart Maine. The first order of business, I will take on, and then we'll pass it on to Nancy to do some more of the actual business. We have a number of departing members. This year, we're saying goodbye to 4 board members. We know that these folks are going to be doing great things, and we hope that you'll stay in touch and continue to support GrowSmart Maine. They've been really important to the organization. These members are, and if you guys want to come up and grab your gift. Carl Epic. Carl is a transportation-related planning expert, smart growth advocate, and all-around great fun person. And I hear is going to stay engaged on the events committee. So thank you, Carl, for staying engaged with GrowSmart Maine on that. And we'll see you at the Grandy Organics booth. That's okay. I'll bring it to being a fun guy. Exactly. It's who he is. Okay. The second is for Rachel Bouvier, and she is joining us virtually today. But I think of her as my contemporary on the board. I believe she started the same year or the year before I did. She's a great blend of brilliant mind. She's an environmental economist and a kind, funny, down-to-earth person who also served as our treasurer for some time. And personally, I would like to thank her for being the first person to give me a hug after we started seeing people again in the pandemic. So she made me feel human again.
Rachel says thank you, and she'll get her gift later.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Our The third board member who is departing is Tom Rumpf, and Tom is in Bangor today with the in-person group there. Tom was a founding board member of GrowSmart Maine, so had spent some time in the early years of the organization, and he returned to us in recent years. And in addition to serving as our treasurer for the last couple of years, he was a great even keel through some introspective work that we did in the organization to really focus our strategies and become a little more streamlined organization. So thank you very much, Tom, and we hope to see more of the travel pictures as he is getting out and traveling the world a bit. And finally, Chris Winstead, who I also believe is virtual, if we've not seen. I haven't seen him here today. Not here. And Chris Winstead, who brought fresh perspective to the board as an economic development director from rural northern Maine. He is now doing great things at Eastern Maine Community College, and so understandably has not had the capacity to continue in that role. But Chris, thank you. We miss your voice, and we were grateful for the time that you were able to give to GrowSmart Maine. So thank you to all of those folks, and we'll pass out gifts later. And with that, I'd like to invite Nancy up to continue with the annual meeting.
Thank you, Becca. And I figure Ben Smith's photo is up there just to see if you were all paying attention. He is not retiring. If we can scroll back to my slides that starts with the GrowSmart logo. I left my run of show back, so I don't know what number it is. That's the first one? All right, cool. Hi. I am Nancy Smith, Executive Director. I am loving today. I am loving hearing from you all how much fun you're having and how amazing the keynote speakers were and the breakout sessions were, and the rest of the day is going to be just as awesome. This is my moment to share with you as part of the annual meeting the work that GrowSmart has done over the past year and why you should care. And I want to start by quoting Facebook, which I don't do very often, but Facebook had a question out. One of the posts was, what is the most unimpressive way you can describe your work? And so I posted, I get paid to talk to people. And I love to talk about the work that we do. Last year at this time, I based my remarks on conversations I've had over the course of the year. And this year, first I want to share with you how we have changed how we talk about our programming. And then put a twist on it and talk about the need for and the value of difficult conversations. One instance of our work of the difficult conversations is the work to integrate equity into our organization and our programming. I am elated that Ambassador Dana chose to speak with us this morning representing the Wabanaki people. GrowSmart Maine voted unanimously at our last board meeting to join the Wabanaki Alliance Tribal Coalition in support of their efforts to achieve sovereignty. This process, these conversations that we had, have prompted me to face my own appropriate discomfort as we work to improve land use planning and regulation to ensure equitable treatment for all people. Because even though I didn't arrive in Maine until I was 19, I have ancestors who go back to the 1800s, the 1700s, even the late 1600s. The Wabanaki story of oppression is also my family's story of colonization, and I simply have to affirm and acknowledge that, just as all of us affirm that there is no smart growth without equity. The GrowSmart board spent a lot of time in fiscal year 2022 in more difficult conversations, facilitated by Hillary Robbins on something called impact strategy, as she guided us in reframing how we prioritize our work and how we communicate it to others. As we began this, we had another difficult conversation. This is our old logo. As we were going through the process, again, of integrating equity, we had to come to terms with the fact that our tagline, Keeping Maine, Maine, has some unintended racial undertones or overtones that we, in 2015 when we developed it, had no idea that keeping Maine, Maine could be interpreted as anything but keeping the things we love as we manage development. And so our new logo, we lost the tagline because we don't ever want to be interpreted in that way. Beyond the logo, there's so much more about the work that we do. We went through a deep process of examining the outcomes in the work that we do and learning how to talk from the GrowSmart perspective. In what ways does it matter that GrowSmart Maine is here? If GrowSmart Maine weren't here, what would be different? It's a very different way rather than talking about the actual work that we do. We still do our 3 threads of programming with a slightly different definition and a more deliberate effort to weave these 3 themes together. We do advocacy, we do convening to action, and we do thought leadership. One of the handouts that you received in coming in was a breakdown of the work that we do and the impact of each of them. And I'm going to run you through the three threads of programming individually. First is convening to action. We have 2 ways that we do that, the summit and our webinars. And in these, the impact that we strive to have is that there are discussions that promote smart growth strategies, that people collaborate and find resources, and that people are making their communities thriving places for current and future generations. Today is our big annual convening, and we're seeking outcomes beyond the intrinsic value that you're all experiencing today of gathering together and networking. Over the past years, we've changed our format, and it's different than other statewide convenings. As you experienced, rather than breakout sessions into siloed issues, we invite attendees to reflect on and discuss the keynote presentations, and we ask you what actions you think you might take as a result of that. One impact of our 2020 summit and the follow-up forum was LD 1240, which was presented to the legislature in 2021, and it called for a rewriting of the Growth Management Act along with other strategic strategies to address barriers to sustainable growth. In the end, it became a resolve that resulted in a housing commission that's currently going on, addressing with a particular eye towards the tensions between workforce housing and short-term rentals. I serve on the commission, and our report is due to the legislature November 2nd, with further action coming in the legislative session in 2023. This year, as you know, we are tying our convening directly to our advocacy in this exciting new process, Policy Action 2023. So within advocacy, I am reminded of a conversation. This was a good conversation, not particularly difficult, but Ben Smith, who is not retiring from our board, spoke about the value and the need for us to be proactive in our advocacy, devoting more of our capacity so that we can go beyond responding to threats to our mission. And that I was reminded of that this summer when I had a conversation with a gentleman named Sam Hamill, who's a retired urban planner and spends his summers here in Maine. He remarked that people do advocacy as though waiting for a crisis. And he wondered how we can get people to be more proactive. That is our goal. And the impact that we strive for with our advocacy is to mitigate the effects of climate change, that rules be fair, sustainable, and equitable, and that communities are fiscally sustainable while including the amenities that make this place home for us. John Piatti mentioned this earlier, and I love an opportunity to quote him. We are at a moment in time. In my advocacy, I no longer have to shoehorn smart growth and land use planning into the big conversations. People outside of the planning community and the planning profession are fully engaged in this issue because they are seeing the impacts of not having sound planning practices in place. And yes, there are tensions between statewide decision-making and local autonomy. There are benefits to both, and heck, our entire summit last year was on that theme. But particularly with advocacy, this is either a moment in a generation or at least a moment in a decade. when we have the opportunity to translate this new awareness of the value of planning and smart growth strategies to add resources and to change the landscape. Decision-making being made on long-term factors, we now call that resilience. And knowing this, I am even more determined to have these difficult conversations in the upcoming legislative session. So our third thread of work is called thought leadership. I had a hard time with this phrase at first. I find it arrogant, but we have framed it to say we share thought leadership across the state of Maine. And I find that much more, at least better fitting to what I bring to GrowSmart Maine. Our goals are that people understand and appreciate smart growth. In urban, suburban, and rural settings, it has value. And that municipalities and others use smart growth resources and principles in their decision-making and in their actions. And, again, I have to get beyond this sounds arrogant, and own it. GrowSmart Maine is the thought leader and voice for smart growth solutions throughout the state of Maine. With board member Lynn Seeley's leadership, we added to and updated our community guides that are available at no cost on our website. In another example of the weaving together of the threads of programming that we do, one impact from the 2021 summit was the creation of a new community guide called Regional Planning for Climate Action. Difficult conversations are a big part of my job. And as with, I think Mike and John both noted, I am risk averse and I avoid conflict. I don't lean into it well. However, it is part of advocacy, because when you are speaking about what you care about and what matters to you, then naturally what appears is what you don't support. And I think maybe this is why people avoid advocacy or lobbying, is that that stepping into your voice can be scary. Recently, Marty Groman invited me to speak to the Biddeford-Saco Rotary. It was a wonderful opportunity to talk about smart growth and the different things that we support. And I gave my presentation, and the first question was, what are you against? And I thought, oh, totally busted. In writing my remarks, I had very deliberately avoided what GrowSmart does not support, because I didn't want to be separated from my audience. But I'll tell you, projects and policies that undermine both the sustainability of the community and its current qualities that support our physical and emotional well-being, whether that community is our state or a neighborhood, those are not smart growth, and we do not support those projects and those policies. It is a basic human instinct to avoid conflict, because we need each other to survive. Convening and advocacy are the spaces where we engage in conversations and where I invite you to engage in conversations. Thought leadership is where we strive to provide the resources so that those conversations are meaningful. I'm going to wrap up with a thank you to Kara Wilbur for joining me in some difficult conversations this year. GrowSmart Maine and Build Maine are pulling in the same direction. We have very different approaches, and we focus on different aspects of finding the right places for growth. But we're merging approaches this year, and we're building on each other's strengths. Kara approached me, I guess it was earlier this year, with this proposal that became Policy Action 2023. And she tells people that it took 3 times before I got it, but that I now describe it better than she can. It was so outside my comfort zone, this letting go of the illusion of control and sharing your work before it's done. But I am genuinely excited about this. And all this came after some pretty strident disagreements about LD 1694, which GrowSmart supported but had concerns with, while there were others who were all on for it. And here it won one of the Maine Smart Growth Awards for this year. There are benefits to these difficult conversations. They can be life-changing on an individual, neighborhood, or statewide benefit. I want you to lean into them. I want you to be prepared for the edge, for these hard conversations. You're doing them now. They need to be happening where the decisions are being made. I hope that today helps lower some of the barriers to you doing advocacy, recognizing that you're doing advocacy. As Mike pointed out, you're doing it now. You're an organizer now. Recognize it and step into it more. And I invite you to try some of this out on the walking tours this afternoon. Up in Bangor, we're having a picnic table panel discussion talking about successes and challenges in local advocacy, and at the receptions, both in Bangor and in Biddeford. We have Shelley Pingree will be joining us here. There's a representative from Congressman Golden's office up in Bangor, and of course we have Bonnie Pothier, former GrowSmart board member, representing Senator King's office here, as well as a number of elected officials. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about, hopefully not so much the work we do, but why it matters and why I think it's incredibly important that GrowSmart Maine is in Maine. Thank you. So we're going to shift gears, and the last little piece of business for the board elections is coming up. If we have that as the next screen. And I left my script, but I bet I can do it without the script. So we have, if you look on your program, it explains who can vote. All of you, or for the most part, if you weren't a member already when you registered, you had to become a member. And the purpose of that is so that we know that people in the room can vote. If you're part of an organization or a business that's a member, each of those gets one vote. We have people who are virtual. We have people up in Bangor. When we do the vote for incoming and re-elected board members, we'll be checking with Tammy so that those votes are tallied. This was a separate handout that outlines the different board members that we have. Those on top are returning board members. Our bylaws allow for up to three-year terms, and those at the bottom are our incoming board members to help fill the void left by the terrific people who are leaving. So you've had their bios have been up on the website. This has been out in emails. You've got the handout. So at this point, I am open to nominations and would look to Carol Morris. So we have a motion to nominate the slate of board members. Is there a second? Seconded by Ethan. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, then I will move for those in this room and in Bangor to raise your hands if you're in favor. Those of you actually virtual, Tammy will be watching and can raise your hands as well. So as a member of GrowSmart Maine, if you raise your hand in support of the nominations. Tammy, have you had a chance to?
We have 2 out of 2 that are still hanging around virtually, and in Bangor, I've got 3 dots. Oh, yeah, yes, all in favor. I don't know what the count is, but all in favor, unanimous. We'll get a count later on that.
All right. And I need to ask, I guess, any opposed? I'm not seeing any here. Any out there in the virtual land of Zoom? All right, we will call the vote closed. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you for my returning board members who do amazing work, and to the 3 incoming board members who are going to add some amazing perspective to our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And I echo that. We're very excited for our new board members to join us. It's going to be a great group of folks. And for those of you who are here today and in Biddeford and Bangor and virtually, I would encourage you all, and we invite you to get more involved in GrowSmart if you have that interest. We have committees that we're always looking for people with new energy and ideas to contribute to, or if you're interested in serving on the board. I think we see great opportunities upcoming, and I think we will be looking to broaden the involvement and broaden our board as we do have more work to do and a broader reach to gain. So please do be in touch. And with that, I will send you off. Have a great walk. We'll see you at 3 o'clock.